Since she was a child, Helena Duarte woke up screaming. It was always the same dream, the same corridor, too long, too narrow, with walls that seemed to breathe slowly, rhythmically, as if the house itself were alive. At the very end of that impossible hallway stood a single red door, and from behind it, a sound would seep through, a wet, repetitive noise, like something heavy and damp being dragged across the floorboards. She never saw what it was, but even in the dream, she knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that it was real. When she was 7, Helena witnessed the moment that split her life in two. It wasn't a nightmare this time. She found her father lying on the living room floor, his eyes wide open, staring at nothing. Her mother stood over him, perfectly still, holding something that dripped onto the worn rug. There were no screams. There was only a profound silence, a silence so heavy it seemed to cling to the child's skin, a suffocating blanket. Her mother was taken away that very night. The whispers followed soon after. They said she had gone mad. They also said little Helena had too much imagination. Years passed. Now a young woman, Helena was sent to a strict girls' boarding school, a place where the nights felt even longer and more menacing than the days. The other students swore they heard footsteps pacing the dormitory halls long after curfew. But Helena heard something else, something far more personal. She would hear someone whispering her name, right next to her ear, even when she was completely alone in her bed. The voice was soft, insistent, and it was hers. When the fainting spells began, the school decided she needed rest. That rest had an address: the old Duarte family house, left abandoned and decaying since the night of the tragedy. The house stood far from the city, an island in a sea of tall, twisted trees whose branches blocked the sunlight like skeletal fingers closing into a fist. The air there always felt cold, a damp chill that seeped into your bones, even on the hottest of summer days. 2 people were assigned to her care. First, there was Alvaro Montero, a tutor who was far too proper, with a stiff posture and a smile that never, ever reached his cold, watchful eyes. To accompany her, they also hired Eliza, a young caretaker with a gentle voice and an attentive gaze that seemed to miss nothing. Helena was supposed to heal there. She was supposed to forget. But on the very first night, the house remembered for her. Helena heard the corridor, not in a dream. She was wide awake, lying in her bed, when the sound started. It came from the upper floor, a slow, patient dragging noise. The same wet, rhythmic sound from her nightmares. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she had to see. She forced herself out of bed and crept out of her room. There, on the polished floor of the upstairs hallway, were fresh marks. Thin, parallel lines, as if something heavy had been pulled there. Again and again, just moments before. And then she saw her, reflected in the large, tarnished mirror at the end of the hall. A woman stood directly behind her. She wore a long, pale dress, old-fashioned in its cut, stained dark along the hem. Helena couldn't see her face. It was shrouded in shadow. But she felt the absolute certainty that the woman was watching her. A cold dread washed over her. She spun around. There was no one there. The corridor was empty. The apparitions became frequent after that. Sometimes, the woman in white would be sitting silently in the old armchair in the living room, a space her mother used to favor. Other times, she would just stand before the red door, which now truly existed at the end of the upstairs corridor, a perfect replica of the one from her dreams. It was a silent, patient sentinel. Elissa, with her soft voice, said it was just trauma manifesting, the mind playing tricks, dredging up old fears. Alvaro, with his empty smile, said Helena simply needed stronger medication to quiet her overactive imagination. But Helena started to notice things, small details that didn't fit their neat explanations. She noticed that Eliza, the gentle caretaker, never appeared in reflections. Not in mirrors, not in window panes, not even in the polished silverware on the dining table. She also noticed that Alvaro, the proper tutor, never went upstairs. He would stand at the bottom of the staircase, call for her, but never take a single step up, and the red door. It was never locked in the morning, even when Helena was absolutely certain she had bolted it shut the night before. One afternoon, her hands trembling, she finally gathered the courage to turn the knob. It opened with a low groan. She found a hidden room, a space not on any of the house's plans. It was stifling and windowless, thick with the old, metallic smell of iron and mold. In the center of the dusty floor, she saw them, the same drag marks from the corridor, and on the far wall, words had been carved over and over again, scratched deep into the plaster with what could only have been fingernails. The same phrase, repeated until it was a maddening scrawl. She wakes when you remember. That night, as a storm raged outside, Helena remembered everything. The memory didn't trickle back. It crashed into her, a tidal wave of truth. It wasn't her mother who had killed her father that night. It was her, a small 7-year-old girl, filled with a rage she couldn't comprehend. The woman in the white dress wasn't a ghost haunting the house. She was the part of Helena that never slept, the part that carried the memory, the part that dragged the heavy weight of what she'd done through the corridors of her mind for years. She was the one whispering her own name in the dark. She walked out of her room, no longer the timid, frightened girl. She was calm. Alvaro tried to stop her at the bottom of the stairs, his mask of pleasant concern finally slipping to reveal naked fear. "Helena, go back to your room," he stammered. But it was too late. When Eliza screamed from the kitchen, the sound was swallowed by the house. The corridor itself seemed to answer with a low, hungry groan. The next morning, the house was silent once again. The storm had passed. There were no bodies, no drag marks on the floor, no Helena. There was only the red door at the end of the hall, now standing wide open, an invitation into the darkness. And they say that sometimes, on the lonely road that leads away from the old Duarte estate, a young woman in a pale stained dress can be seen walking in the dead of night. She moves slowly, patiently, and if you get close enough, she might just softly ask whether you remember, or if you would rather keep sleeping. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe out there.